They had hoped for a happily ever after. They both came from Kerala and had known each other since their college days and had been living together in South Bengaluru for the last 2 years. I'm talking about these two. And little did 24-year-old Deva knew that her live-in partner would turn a murderer. Few days ago, Vaishnav had some doubts about the deceased. They used to fight over it. On Sunday, the argument raised between them and he hit her with a cooker and she was killed. She died on the spot. Vaishnav, who worked as a marketing executive with a local firm, escaped after committing the crime and police traced him on Monday. However, the police said that no previous complaint was filed by either of them, though the couple's neighbors said they used to have frequent verbal spat. But why have frequency of these cases of brutal killings by lovers gone up? Let's look at some disturbing statistics. Nearly 30% of women between 18 and 49 years have faced domestic violence. And the state of Karnataka, in fact, tops the list with 44% of such cases. Other states which have registered cases of domestic violence against women are Tamil Nadu, Bihar, Telangana and Manipur. In fact, according to the UN Women, 1 in 4 women face intimate partner violence. What's worse is that less than 40% of women who experience such violence actually reach out for help. So we ask on the show, is this a pandemic which is being overlooked? Why is this dark side of relationship which makes women so vulnerable not being discussed? Do we have to wait for another Shraddha Walker, another Deva to happen to take this up nationally? How and when will we make this an open conversation, realizing fully well that it's happening in our neighborhoods? Has the time come to lift the taboo around discussions on live-in partner violence? Joining me on the show, we have Priyali Soor, who is an independent journalist, Nirmal Kaur, former DGP. We have Mrinalini Deshmukh, senior lawyer of Bombay High Court, and Dr. Jayanti Datta, renowned clinical psychologist, continues to be with us as well. Priyali, coming to you as someone who has extensively reported on this subject, do you see these incidents of brutality, be it Shraddha Walker, where her partner killed her and then chopped her into multiple pieces, to Deva, where she was killed to death using a pressure cooker? Do these cases come as a surprise to you? And why don't these women realize that they are in an abusive relationship?
Maria, thanks for raising this issue on the show. I think the problem actually lies with saying the question that why don't these women realize that they are in an abusive relationship? It puts the onus on the women. I think the onus needs to be more on the perpetrator and also on the society. But most of it, I think, whenever a case like this happens, a case of intimate partner violence, which gets the media spotlight, I think our inherent, the way we've been conditioned as a society, the way we've been conditioned, let me rephrase, in our Indian society, is to put the blame immediately on the woman. Why was she in a living relationship? Or to say that how could her family, how could her parents allow? Were they not in the knowledge of the fact that the daughter was in the living relationship, or that she continued? Or if they were, why did they allow? If we are being benevolent enough on that day, then we will put the blame on the man, or, we'll say, okay, the man is the perpetrator, but we never really question the foundation of this problem, which I think lies in the structural problem of our society and the regressive laws which are there in place. Let me just point blank say, and very slowly say this, that India is a sexually violent society. And we are a sexually violent society for majorly 2 reasons. One, because our laws and many things which go around it, including policies, are regressive, but we are also hypocritical. We're not okay with living partnership relationships because we question it. We question it by saying that there is going to be violence in that. We question the woman, but we are okay with a married man raping a woman inside the bedroom. That we are okay with. We are okay with porn being the major source of sexual education for the youth, but we're not okay with educating our children or the youth in sex education, whether it's in classrooms or in homes. We are okay with the numbers of rape cases rising one after the other, or sexual violence cases rising one after the other, but we never talk about consent. I think if we look internally, we also have a lot of blame that we need to put on ourselves as individuals socially, but also on the media. And I think we need to question the way the language in the media is also formulated.
Yes.
Every time you
really,
Google...
the point that I'm trying to make here is that
let me just finish.
If an individual is in, if the partner is showing these streaks of violence,
right.
And the woman is not able to seek help because of multiple reasons, because there is taboo around it, and the fact is no one deserves to be abused, and the abuse is not her fault. But how does the society give her that confidence that you're not alone?
I think that's $1 million question. We have to start the education of gender sensitization very early on in our classrooms at a very young age. We have to instill in our boys and our girls, because right now what we instill in our girls is that women ko to sehna padta hai, aurat ko, ladki ko to sehna padta hai, and boys can get away with anything. So we have to instill that right from the beginning, so women feel also that homes are safe spaces to go to, because currently homes are not safe spaces to go to. Families question their behavior. Families question their attitude. If you try and go and report a case in the police station, and I just took 2 weeks ago a woman to report a case in a police station in New Delhi, and it was hard for her to report because the police was on my face saying, "Ma'am, ye to gharelu mamla hai." Right? So we don't have systemic structures in place which allow women to come out and talk about their abuse. On top of that, I think there are lots of mental health issues, which I think you have a psychologist on the panel who might be able to shed more light on.
Yes. I'm going to take that question to Dr. Jayanti Datta in just a bit, but before that, Nirmal Kaur, the point being made by Priyali here is that she takes a woman who has been abused, but the cops say that it is a case of gharelu mamla. What is the legal protection that is available for her?
See,
she has been abused and she has been isolated. And somebody like Priyali who reaches out to her and takes her for help, this is the response that they get from the law enforcers.
That's a very, very bad response. The police is being sensitized so much these days. There are so many courses running for them. There are SOPs in place that they have to entertain these women who come seeking help, legal help or police help in cases of violence. As it is difficult enough to come out and report. If you are in an abusive relationship, you don't realize it. It's very obvious to the outsider, but the person in the situation doesn't realize it. And they are very addictive. And the thing is, they slowly become more and more abusive. If you put a frog in boiling water, it will jump off immediately. But if you put it in water and slowly increase the heat, it will die there. So abusive relationships are something like that. So if a woman at all gathers courage, it's the duty of the whole society, especially the police and other, stakeholders in providing protection to women to come out and help her. It is a very sad response if the police thinks that gharelu mamla hai. It is not a gharelu mamla.
Dr. Jayanti Datta, you and I have had long discussions when Shraddha Walker murder case happened. There have been similar cases of brutality in other cases as well. And now
Nikki murder case.
Yes, Nikki Yadav. And now we are seeing another case of live-in partner being brutally murdered by another man. I mean, there's no particular socio-economic group here. And why is it that that in such close spaces, women are being subject to physical, sexual, emotional abuses, and in many ways the partners are controlling behavior by an intimate partner?
Yes, the thing is, you see, our society has still not accepted the live-in relationship, right? And when you walk in for a live-in relationship, we talk about women empowerment, but is there really a women empowerment happening in the society? No. Because once you walk into a live-in relationship, you have to hide it from your parents. Your door for the family, from the family which you come out from, it's totally closed. Because I have heard people saying, ye ladki to gayi, हमारे पास दूसरे बच्चे हैं, कौन शादी करेगा इनको? Now this is the mentality. Where will this woman go? And you see the men, I appreciate the Soor, she said it very bluntly and been very bold, and it's so truthfully she has stated all this. You see, what happens is when you go into an intimate relationship, you have given in everything, trusting the man. The man thinks, well, I've taken everything from her. She has nothing else to offer. So he can subject her to any kind of brutality. And yes, I agree with Ms. Kaur also, that, you know, the brutalities keep on increasing slowly and slowly. Comes a time when the woman gets so dependent on it, she has no way to go. Where will she go? She cannot go to the family. She cannot go to the friends. There isn't any institution which gives her the protection. We would not have lost Shraddha if the police was rightfully taking the action. You see, when she went, and then the women are threatened that if you do this, I'll kill you. Now, why this man could get away with it? Tell me, how many cases we have talked about, has there been any punishment? Starting from Nirbhaya days, where do we have any, you see, speedy trial and immediate punishment? There is no punishment. We have, even for Shraddha, we have not punished the perpetrator. So our laws are really perpetrator friendly.
So basically, women have been let down by the law enforcement agencies. They have been let down by the legal system, and there's no protection at all.
There isn't any space. Where will she go?
Where will she go? I mean, the society has not given her that confidence that she can go back to her family. Yes. It's also that fallback options are limited.
She's not safe even there.
She is not safe. Mrinalini.
So good evening, everybody. I think I've been listening to all the views that have been given by my co-panelists, and I completely endorse what their views are. But I have a different take on this. Number one, that the brutality which has been on the women have been subjected to. I think we as women, when I take a step to step out of a formal setup of society and get into a live-in relationship, I think my responsibility as a woman, as a lady, is 10 times more than in a normal relationship of a marriage. Number one, because I am in a way today also going against the flow of the society. Number two, the point here is that the moment you see red flags in your relationship, why are we not vigilant enough to take a stand that if I can enter into a live-in relationship with my own mind and with my own consciousness and awareness, I should also have the liberty to walk out. So I would say that we need to bring about an awareness amongst the women that today, yes, live-in relationships are recognized by law under the Domestic Violence Act. That is true. You will be protected. You will be given as a woman also, besides whether it's a live-in relationship or otherwise. But when you, and this orientation is required, that you have to enter into this relationship with having in mind what is the fallback in case it doesn't work. These are the extreme cases where they are killed. Obviously, this is unpardonable, unforgivable, and we cannot even in the wildest stretch of imagination consider that such a thing should be even sort of, considered to be sort of overlooked. But I'm saying as a fallback, you should first be you should be aware that in the event my relationship does not get on, what is my fallback? There is no point in saying that now my society is not supporting me, now my family is not supporting me, now I'm not doing this. You did something which is against their wishes. Now why do you expect them to come and stand by you? I mean, they should, they would, and they will do that. But the point here is each one is responsible for our action. So it is extremely important within the legal framework. The law is there, the police is there, the social structure is there, and all these things which are said, we need to take a step that if I am going to enter into a live-in relationship, I should know what are the fallbacks of it. And in case I have to step out, I should have a plan B where I have the liberty. You cannot continue to be sort of languishing in the relationship for the lack of option. What do I do now? That cannot be the thing. That should be the first thought before you enter into a live-in relationship.
Okay, Priyali, I'll give you the final word. It's a situation which has complex mental issues we are seeing that how it scars lives. There are societal challenges at the same time. But the fact is that it gets dark and darker with every such case that we come to know about it.
Maria, I don't know who the last speaker was, the previous speaker before me, but I think it's Dr.
Mrinalini Deshmukh. She is a senior lawyer at Bombay High Court.
Mrinalini Deshmukh, it's laughable what she said. What she is actually doing is victim shaming. It is because of people like her, because of women like her, that we've lost women like Shraddha Walkar and Nikki Yadav. It is because of point of views and attitudes like her that these women don't come out. They don't feel safe to come out and talk. The onus cannot ever be on a victim who's currently going through the trauma. That is why there's something called trauma. Because when women or any kind of victim is going through a trauma, that person is in a hole. That person cannot come out. And we are saying that we have to put the blame on this person for not being able to come out and talk about it.
You're getting me wrong. You're getting me wrong. We are all responsible.
Let me please finish, ma'am. Let me please finish and then you can come back. You said that there's a law and a social structure in place. What law is in place? A law which keeps on putting, even after the death of a woman, we are going from court to court. There's date to date being given. जो तारीख पे तारीख बताते हैं ना हम, वो हर केस में हो रही है. तो कौन सी law की बात कर रहे हैं आप? You're talking about a social structure in place. What social structure is in place where lawyers like you come and blame women and victim shame them on a channel? That's the social structure in place. I'm appalled that being a woman and being a lawyer, you're talking like this.
Absolutely. You are appalled because you see one side of the coin. I'm saying every person has to, I'm not victim shaming. I think you've got me wrong, Priyali. And I don't want to get into any kind of confrontation, sort of conversation with you. What I'm trying to tell you is I think you heard me partly. Probably there must be some audio defect. I had said that the orientation needs to be given to the women who are going to enter into a live-in relationship, or there has to be a general awareness that it looks very nice, it looks very catchy to be into a live-in relationship. Today, the law is recognizing.
What about the orientation for the men? What about the orientation for the men who get into live-in relationships? Why should the orientation only be for the women?
I am concerned.
Why not for the men?
Here. I'm not pointing one finger. I am concerned for the woman here, and that is why I'm saying. And that is why we should completely ignore the other.
We should completely ignore the other.
I am not saying that the man is not guilty, but should it be that I'm a hapless victim? Should I not be intelligent enough to understand that what I'm doing, I should be aware of what it is? I also said that the moment you see any red flags in your relationship, do not continue into the relationship. Just don't get into any confrontation. Leave the relationship. Get out of that relationship, because your safety and your security is the most important time.
Get out and
you leave and go where?
Get out and go where? Which doesn't want to register your complaint. Get out and go to lawyers who want to victim shame you.
Really, nobody is shaming. That is a very wrong interpretation you're giving, and I think you're just trying to sort of
I want to raise a point.
Entire issue. I am as much concerned for the women, and I am known for doing it. I am saying today, why can we not have responsible girls?
Okay, I have just enough time for Jayanti Datta. Dr. Jayanti Datta, 30 seconds to you, please.
See, 2-3 things. First of all, if she is walked into a wrong relationship, it is she who is losing the maximum. She has already had to insult her uterus because she cannot go ahead with a pregnancy in a live-in relationship. Second, if she is walked into a living relationship, I would blame the parents also for socialization. How can they raise their hands and say, no, now we cannot take her back? Why should she have to work out a second plan, second alternative?
But
why can't she be given the same
Priyali, and I tend to agree with her.
I don't agree
what
with
about
this,
responsibilities of men?
Yes, of course.
What about their...
Absolutely.
They are supposed to be in a relationship. They have a role.
The men have to be taken to the task for doing it. I am saying it is better to be safe than to be sorry. You obviously, and I gave you this example, that you have to take these people to task and give them the harshest of the punishment, and it should be served as a deterrent. What I'm trying to say is more reformative, and the reformation part of it is I should be able. There is no point in saying that I'm the Bechari.
Reformation doesn't happen.
I'm not the Bechari. It's not that I don't have the
No.
If I have the guts, If I
I
have the
think
guts and I have the courage,
you
and every woman
push her
must
to be a
have,
bichari.
every
You push
woman
her, you
must
force
have
her
the
to be a
courage to enter
bichari.
into a
She has nowhere to
relationship
go.
of marriage
Where
or
will
death.
she go?
But then I am saying that please do not make her a bichari. Please, in fact, empower her and make her understand that these are the fallbacks. You should have a plan B. You cannot control the situation. If you cannot control the situation, be in command of the situation to a large extent, where at least your safety and your right to say no to the man,
You know,
your right
this
to
is a
walk
discussion
What are
which
you
must
suggesting for
continue.
the men?
Then-
What are you suggesting for the men?
NDTV.com is your
What should
destination.
they
Thank you so
do?
much for your time, Priyali,
Thank
Nirmal
you.
Kaur,
Thank you.
Dr. Jayanti Datta, Mrinalini Deshmukh as well.